Hey y'all, what's up? What's up? Welcome to the Planning with a Purpose podcast. You already know it is 12 o'clock p.m. on Tuesday, which means we are here talking to y'all about everything comprehensive planning. I'm here with my girl Alyssa, not right now. She ain't here yet, but she's coming. She is coming. She is not missing because y'all know I usually don't do the intro because that's just not my space. I like to say whatever I don't like to say, the thing. So we're sharing stories from across our communities, of course. And on this episode, I don't know which number episode this is, but it's the episode we are talking to folks from the West End. So I just was like, y'all know we talked to over 18,000 people over the city over our summer of engagement, and we did not hear enough from people from the West End. So I was like, well, we just need to go to the people. So I asked Keisha, I was like, who I need to talk to, and Keisha was like, and I was like, okay, I got to pick some folks. We can't talk to everybody. Keisha, actually, you're gonna be my host while Alyssa's not here. How do you feel about that?
You know what, Muffy? Anything for you.
Thank you. Thank you. In my disorganization, thank you for being the collective organization for my disorganization. So we got Keisha Gomez. Y'all already know Keisha. She is, to me, I call her the mayor of the West End. She hates it, but I'm calling that to her forever because look, when I got to the West End, I already knew who to call. I was like, calling Keisha because she got all the kids and she knew where all the mamas is at. So that's why I'm calling her. But Keisha gave me some really cool people to talk to that I didn't even know lived in the West End. I know that Mike Dean used to work out with my husband. That's how I knew him. So welcome to the conversation, Mike. What's up?
How y'all doing? How y'all doing? My reception for some reason acting crazy. Did you ask a question?
No, I didn't ask a question. I just said, what's up?
Oh, how y'all doing? Good morning. I'm sorry. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm sorry.
All right. It's all good, no worries. And then we got Marty joining us for the conversation. He is the coach or the head honcho in charge of the West. I don't know if it's the Weston, the Sheridan, the Elliott Mustangs. What is it, Marty? Can you tell us a little bit more?
West Side Mustangs Youth Athletic Association.
Well, thank you for being here, bro. We appreciate you.
No problem.
So I wanted to start off the conversation just by telling y'all about these vision statements, and then we're going to move directly into talking to these residents of the West End, these community leaders of the West End, about their experience in the community and what they think should be the future of the region. So our 10 vision statements, I'm going to breeze through them real quick, just because I don't want nobody to tell y'all I didn't tell y'all. So these are the vision statements that we came up with after we talked to over 18,000 Pittsburghers during our summer of engagement. Number one, welcomes more people while protecting who's here, which just means that we're welcoming people to our region, but we also want to protect the people that already live here, that have been longtime residents, that whose families have been here, and maybe even people who've been displaced because of all the various inequitable issues that are across Pittsburgh. Number two vision statement, we want to add diverse housing choices without losing neighborhood identity. So we want to make sure there's affordable housing in our neighborhoods. I don't know if y'all know what's happening in the city right now, but the city council actually just passed some policy ordinance. I don't know what it is. They basically said that affordable housing is no longer required in certain developments. So you should probably go research that. But as a part of this comprehensive plan, we want to make sure that we are adding diverse housing opportunities. And we also don't want neighborhoods to lose their identities. The third vision statement is that we want to build the next great industries, as far as, we know we've had steel in the past, but what's new? Like, is it green? Is it AI? Like, what is the next great industry, and how does Pittsburgh begin to play a role in that? We want to make it easy to get around in your neighborhood as our fourth vision statement. So we want transportation that works. We want multimodal transportation, not just buses. We want to be able to connect in climate friendly ways, and we want to be able to make sure that transportation is equitable across our various 90 neighborhoods. Number 5, we want to keep rivers clean, air breathable, and hillsides safe. Y'all know that there is always flooding in our region. You know that there is pollution in our region left over from the steel mill, but also from the various, industrial sites that we have. We also are used to having landslides in Pittsburgh. So we're asking, how can we commit to environmental restoration? Number 6, we want to close the quality of life gap so that all Pittsburghers thrive and not just survive. We want to eliminate disparities in health, maternal health, safety, opportunities, housing opportunities, employment opportunities, so that every resident can enjoy not only just a life, but a dignified life. The 7th vision statement, we want to lift up every culture as Pittsburgh's pride and identity. Pittsburgh is very diverse. It wasn't back in the day, but it's becoming more diverse day by day. And we want to make sure that those diverse communities are having education invested in creativity, and we want to do storytelling that actually reflects who's here. 8th vision statement, coordinating across sectors, systems, and geographies. We want to promote collaboration between city, county, and regional partners, because sometimes it's hard to know if you're in Pittsburgh or not. If you're in Penn Hills, are you in Pittsburgh? If you're in McKees Rocks, are you in Pittsburgh? Maybe you are, maybe you're not. And we want to make sure that we are working across, not just within the city, but we want to make sure we're working across counties and regions that are adjacent to the city. And lots of those people come into the city for work, for play, for education, multiple things. 9, we want to govern with trust, accountability, and vision. We want to strive for transparent, community-driven governance that centers racial and economic equity in every decision, which just means we want our politicians, our policymakers, not to lie to us, to tell us the truth. And we want to actually see what is their vision for the region versus what is their plan of right now. And then the final one is we want to power bold futures. We want to advocate for fiscally responsible investment and infrastructure planning that secures long-term stability and shared prosperity. This is a land use plan. So one of the things that residents have to understand about this 25-year comprehensive plan that we are doing is that it is a plan about how land is going to be used. I want to say that again. It's a plan about how land is going to be used. So that means that if you don't show up, your house might be a parking lot. So you need to show up and have your voice heard, because this is a plan about how they're going to use your neighborhood in the future of Pittsburgh. So that space that you call near and dear to your heart may not be that space anymore if we don't show up, have our voices heard, and then utilize the plan to hold the people's feet to the fire. So I said my spiel. Now we're going to talk to the people. This is the West End episode. So we're talking to the people from the West End. So my first question for y'all is, how would you describe the West End to somebody who ain't never been there before?
Start it off, Marty. Start it off, Marty.
So West End is made up of maybe about 6 or 7 communities, small, close knit. Everybody knows each other. You know, most of the kids in the West End, you know, growing up, we all went to the same school, whether it was Broadhead, Westgate, Chartiers, Greenway, Crafton Heights, Sheridan. You know what I mean? When I was growing up in the West End, Sheridan was a predominantly white neighborhood. Now it's predominantly black. You know what I mean? And they moved. What they did was move all the African Americans out of the Westgate, Broadhead area, and moved them up to Sheridan. Now West End has taken its turn where, you know, the violence isn't as high as a lot of other areas in the city, but we still have our hiccups over there. My biggest thing is, you know, I'm more of a youth-based person, because my program is for kids ages 5 to 14. So I pour into the kids. And one of the biggest things in the West End that I hate is that, other than the outlet that say me and Keisha give to the kids, there's nothing. There's no recreation centers. There's there's no true building over there that we can say, okay, we're gonna put these kids in this building and have a true program, after school program. There's just 2 schools over there that former PPS schools that are not they're being used, but they're not. One isn't being used. One is being used for a plumbing school. Now the other one's just been sitting there for years, where we could have we could have got these schools open, had some type of recreational thing going on, some type of after school program with Keisha. Keisha basically could have moved her program into one of these schools and had classrooms and everything. Over the years, the Porters opened up the Nairi Center over there, and you know, it's there. That's all I can say. So, like I said, the West End is like it's not a real large. We're not a big community, but we're a community where everybody knows each other. Everybody seems to get along, and we just try to make it happen over there. And with the little bit of resources that we have, and I'm speak freely. I just feel like far as our city councilwoman, she can put more into the West End. Honestly.
All right. Thank you for being open and transparent with that. Anybody else? I asked the question, if you had to describe the West End to someone who's never been there before, how would you describe it?
I can jump in there. Hey, Miss Johns. I'll jump in there. Marty did really do a good job of giving the history and bringing us up to date of where we are today. I'm not a Pittsburgher. I moved to the West End, and people are always like, "How'd you end up here?" And all I can say is God. I don't know what brought me to the West End, but God. And so how I would describe it to people is that it is like the little engine that could. We don't have all the resources, like Marty said. We don't have the money, we don't have the buildings, we don't have anything like that, but we do have community. We do have people that care and will not let this community fail. You can see that with the people who are on this call, as well as other countless people in this community, that we're giving out of our pockets, we're giving out of our hearts, and we're making it happen. We have so much need in the West End, and people describe it as the forgotten neighborhood. I don't think it's forgotten. I think that it's well in the forefront of many people's minds. There's something with intention that's happening, why it's failing, but I think that there's so many of us that just simply won't allow it to fail. We are the Wild Wild West, but we are making things happen. We care. We have people that care, and so we won't go down, but we need we need a lot of help. There's a lot of community need that's here. And if we have some strides in those areas that you talked about in the beginning, Muffy, we can be a mighty force to this city of Pittsburgh.
Right. I can say that, right now I live part-time between Tampa and Pittsburgh. I'm actually headed to Pittsburgh today, so I see y'all tonight.
Okay.
But I was a longtime resident of the East. I grew up in the Hill. I grew up in Wilkinsburg, knew nothing about the West End, ended up in the West End because my husband, who is from Brooklyn, put us in the West End. And I was like, why the hell you move us over here? There's nothing over here. And I can say that was my first impression. My first impression is there's nothing over here. But building Brown Mamas, a lot of my women are from the West. A lot of my consistent members are from the West. And so I think that does show the power of community in the West, and how people on the West End really value community and show up for community.
Right.
Anybody else want to add to that question at all?
I just like, I'm not on mute. So working at Pittsburgh Lane for the last 3 years, and if Marty, as y'all didn't know, he's my uncle, and mainly spending a lot of my life in Chartiers. Marty said it right. He's a very community based. Everybody does know each other. Even a lot of people actually do come back to help the West. Keisha, I like what you said of it not being forgotten. I use that term a lot. Like, it was a forgotten side of town, but people know it's just that sometimes they don't have a reason to come over. Like, there's not, there's great things. There have been great strides. I've seen a lot of great strides, especially with your programming, like, Farmer Girl Ads programming, Marty's football organization, having people from not just from the West Side or the West End of town. You have people from all parts of town. He literally told me just the other day about a family comes from Pitcairn to play for the West Side Mustangs. Like, so there is reason. Just sometimes I think that it has to be shown visually. It just, maybe broadcast, or I don't want to say promoted, just shown how this part of town is no different. Even we make it happen with the lack of what we have. Like, we make it happen with the cards that are dealt.
If y'all could like pinpoint a priority, in terms of just creating more opportunity and really creating more reason for people to come to the West, like, what would it be?
For me, and I've been trying. It's sometimes just for me, it's just working with the kids in the schools, because, like y'all said, we don't have a lot of like resources, corporate collaboration. You know what I mean? Like, it bothers me sometimes, and I get it, but I don't like it. It bothers me that like University of Pitt has this, what's it called, a C, the building in Homewood. I'm sorry.
The CEC.
Yeah, like these things they have one in Hazelwood, they have one in Homewood. I think they have one,
Mm,
like, why? And I'm using that as an example. Why can't it be on this side of town? I mean, not no shade to nothing, but I'm like, yo, there's about one, two, three, about three Family Dollars that are closed down, that are just sitting there where things could be trans. And I don't, and to be honest, I don't know what they do. I just know it's a good feeling to hear that University of Pitt is in Homewood. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, it doesn't have to be University of Pitt. It could be Duquesne. It could be Robert Morris. It could be anything. But more for me is corporate collaboration, because at the end of the day, we're 5 minutes away from downtown Pittsburgh.
right.
Like literally like one like literally one bridge away. Like literally one bridge away from some of the, Pittsburgh being one of the, I guess, biggest nonprofit places in the United States. And how
Right.
come you got to bag, try to bag, talk to the right people. And there's a lot of red tape when it comes to stuff too, but that's one of the things that for me should be a priority on this side of town.
Mhm.
If I can piggyback, that was such a good point, Mike. I believe that we should be creating more pathways to employment and career development. So, job training, internships, partnerships with local employers, that is absolutely something that we should be doing. I think the problem that we have also is that we don't have enough businesses in the West End to kind of see some of that come to fruition. You know what I mean? Like, we don't have businesses, we don't have restaurants. I don't know if we have one restaurant in the West End. We don't have a grocery store. We have a community, but we don't have a neighborhood. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's a problem. We also need to support affordable and safe housing and maintain and build the community infrastructure. So our parks, safe streets, lighting, those are things that our parents and our kids alike have identified that need to be bettered in the community. And then, like all of us, we work with youth. Mike, you're with PPS, you're in the schools, Marty with your entire association, and me with Hope for Tomorrow and Culture. We need to expand after school and mentorship programs. Our
Mhm.
youth are out here just living, and we're doing things that we can do. But like Mike said, we have one of the biggest philanthropic communities in the nation, but that you do not see it here in the West End. We need to expand the programs for the youth and build stronger community linkages. That absolutely needs to happen. I won't even get into health services like mental health and behavioral health. That's not apparent here in the West End, and that's needed as well.
And I always drive home that this is a land use plan.
Hmm.
So when you look at the West End, one of the first things I noticed when I moved over there was it's mostly residential. Like,
Right.
where are the spaces for businesses? Where are the spaces if a nonprofit comes into the space? Because, by the time I moved to the West End, Brown Mamas was full fledged and we were getting funding. But I'm like, where do you put something over here? Like,
Hmm.
is there even a place to put something?
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why I'm just kind of like, if it is a land use plan, how can that speak to the West End? Like, how can we make space on the West End to use land differently? Can anybody add?
I feel like how we can use some of the spaces in the West End is by looking at some of the other areas in Pittsburgh. Like, just say the Hill. Go to the Hill. They have a little bit of everything. Stores, like Keisha said, grocery stores, everything. You have to build your community to make it a real community, though. You know what I mean? You just can't just throw a bunch of people in the community and be like, drive to McKees Rock, drive to Crafton if you want something from John
Right.
Eagle, drive to Green Tree if you want something. Uh, um, like Mike said, Family Dollars is closed down. Like, when it was open, you should have seen how they took care of it anyway. It was closed all in the aisle. It was terrible though. And
Mhm.
then I'm looking at some of the houses in Sheridan, and what they're doing with like uh man, I can't remember the name of the group for the city. HUD, like not HUD, I can't remember. Like, how they're not putting money back into the community as far as housing.
Mhm.
You go down some of these streets and it's terrible. Like unmanicured lawns and boarded up windows and stuff like that. When I was young, to have a house in Sheridan, you thought you was the Huxtables.
Yeah, because the houses are beautiful and huge in Sheridan.
Yes, but now it's not. It's more of a downtrodden now compared
Right.
to what I remember, what I know. I'm a Langley graduate. Miss Johns, who's just on the phone, we all went to school together. She's a Langley graduate, so we know. We graduated. I graduated in '85 from Langley with a graduating class of like 600 and something students in one class. Now you look at graduating classes at Langley now. I did the graduation last year, 8th grade graduation. I spoke at the commencement. I think it was maybe what 30 something kids, Mike.
Like 45, 42.
Yeah, I'm
Funny.
talking about when I graduated, we had soldiers and sailors packed out. So it's more or less how the way Sheridan. I can't say Sheridan. The way the West End has declined, and I always start with what the city has done. And if they haven't done, so what I should say, and his decline year after year after year, and I'm seeing it for what it is now, and it's not the best representation of a Pittsburgh community. This is my opinion, and I'm very upfront. And the same thing I'm saying on this podcast right now, I say this to Ed, I say it to my city councilwoman Teresa Kell Smith. We have arguments and everything because I don't have a dog in the race with what I do. You know what I'm saying? But what I try to do is make sure that I believe everything starts in a community with the children.
Right.
And if we can get the children to buy into what we're selling and then bring the parents in at a later time, you know what I mean? Because they're the tough ones. The parents are the tough ones. I'm talking about it's a tough fight with some of the parents. But they see that what we're doing with their children and don't use us as babysitters and caregivers and try to work with us, we can make the West End what it needs to be. Beautiful neighborhood. Whole West End, beautiful neighborhood, access to different areas on the outside of the city and everything. But it's just more to what we can do. We got a swimming pool. I don't know if the pool's been open for the last couple of years down there. Hasn't it, Keisha? You got a swimming pool, public pool. I remember the time, used to be times it'd be 300 kids at the pool. I don't see the kids going swimming at all no more. Well, matter of fact, we had 2 swimming pools in the West End. We had one in Broadhead. We had one in Sheridan. Broadhead is completely gone. Sheridan. So it's just certain things that we can do as a community that can offer. I heard Keisha talk about businesses and stuff. I don't think there's just one dentist on the West End, and I don't think there's no doctor's office over there at all.
Main Street.
Huh?
One on Main Street.
And one on Chartiers Avenue. My Pat Murphy.
The one on Main Street. And it's similar to what you said. I don't know how it's going to work.
Hold on real quick, Mike. I just want to welcome Melissa into the room. Hey, sis. Thank you for showing up and being here with us. We're talking about the West End. Go ahead, Mike.
I was just saying, even what Marty said about the housing, I just seen it on the news just recently, came across my timeline. The city of Pittsburgh now, I think they picked about maybe like 20 houses that they're going to help people if they decide to buy them. I guess they're horrible homes, and 3 of them in Sheridan. But you had to live in that home for 5 years. So I don't know what the city's going to offer in return for you staying in that home for 5 years, but it just, I guess that's a help, a start. Even with us at the school, we just had a meeting with the city parks, and it's very interesting. Now they want to do after school programming in school. There's jobs on the PGH JobNet page right now, so it's a government job at city parks, but they're trying to do after school programming in the neighborhoods without recreational centers. So they have. But like I said, I guess that's their way of showing that they're doing something. Does that make sense? But I don't know how far it's going to get.
So can I say that, what you both said about the homes, we need to address quality housing, absentee landlords, and vacant lots. it changes perception. And that's what we're talking about here. It changes perception, and perception equates to reality for us, right? So if you're going into a community and there's blight property everywhere, we're going to feel downtrodden. The kids, like you said, they're going to look around, and what is there for their future? What is there for their hope? So we need to address the quality of the homes and the people who aren't here. So those homes that you were talking about, Mike, that they're going to invest in, I'm very interested to know what that looks like. I'm also, on the flip side of that, very interested that there's a property right here on Middletown that went up for sale for $1 million.
Whoa.
So it's all very interesting. And like I said, we're not forgotten. There's a plan, there's an intention. We need
Right.
to get involved in that plan and that intention. And that'll go back to your question, Muffy, of what can the use be? What can that look like?
And I think it's also a zoning issue in the West End. We
Yep.
really need to talk about zoning, because in an area that is predominantly residential, it's like, why can homes in Shadyside be used for business purposes, but not homes in West End? And what is the zoning like? What do we need to do from a zoning perspective to make sure that a doctor, a dentist, a chiropractor, a therapist, whomever can come to the West End, purchase a home, and locate their business within the home? Like, is that possible? And if that is possible, then how do we make it so that there's like an actual draw to do that? So I think that it's very complex, not only because of the way the area is seated geographically, but also because of the long-term disinvestment in the community, and really asking some serious questions around why that's happening and how do we change that narrative. So thank y'all for go
Can I
ahead.
piggyback on that real quick? Because that's been a personal struggle of ours with Hope for Tomorrow.
Right.
As we know, we started in my home. We started very unintentional with serving the youth, but we started in my home. After that, we had to bounce from the park when it was nice outside to the local library. And then we ended up housed in Langley for about, 5 or 6 years. We operated out of Langley. And then just about 2-3 years ago, we moved into the annex of a local church. Now we're in the church, we're at capacity with the kids. So we have a wait list, but we can't accept them. During the school year, we have about 65 kids that come in. During the summer, we have about 85 with our teen employees. And with staff, it's about 100 people in the annex of a building. So we're right there at the top of capacity. But where is there to go next? Marty mentioned earlier about the schools that are here. And there's been talks for, I had a baby and they're grown now from the time that we had talks of moving into those schools. It's not possible. Also, we started Culture Dance Academy and we're operating out of the same building as the nonprofit, but we want to move into a warehouse. And as we look through the West End, there's no place to move this. So we have people from other sides of towns that say, come on over to the east, come on over to the north side, come everywhere else. But my thing is, I'm a West Sider. I wasn't born and raised here, but I've been here for over a decade. I am now a West Sider. I want to, when I create businesses or when I support businesses, I would love to start with home. But like you said, zoning makes that almost impossible for that to happen. So I would love to, get more information on how do we change that? How do we make that happen? I also come from a place in Miami. You do take homes and they turn them into businesses. I used to work at a place called Sembrando Flores. We did early intervention counseling and such. And it was a home that was beautifully renovated into a health center. And you don't see that here, but the West End could make use of that. There's a place right behind Langley, that home that has the flowers on the outside of it. And I look at that and say, that could be a business right there on the corner on this busy intersection. So zoning does need to be looked at, as well as intentionality for making these things happen.
Keisha, you ain't going nowhere. You can't leave. You leave the West Side, we got a problem.
You gonna get me?
Yeah. Your kids played with me. Your son played for me. So
Yeah.
it just ain't, what I mean? Like, good people are hard to find. So I'm one of them type of people. I ain't losing nobody good in our community. So try to walk away, Keisha. We got a problem, sis.
I'm here, Marty. We in it together. We doing this.
No doubt. It's a struggle, but we gonna fight.
Right.
So my final question for y'all as we wrap things up is, if you could direct dollars towards one specific thing, and I think I already know the answer because I've just been listening to the trends and what y'all are talking about. But if you could direct city dollars towards one specific thing, what would it be?
Building up the community.
Can you be
Run-
specific? Like, what is the one thing you think it would take to build up the community?
That's a broad question right there, because there's so many things, so much is needed though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we talked about, trying to make a community, like just things that certain dynamics. We don't need a mom and pop grocery store. We need a grocery store. We need a John Eagles or anything. There used to be a Food Land for years. Was that Food Land? I think it was Food Land for years. We're in Sheridan. I don't know why they ever shut it down. I'm not sure. You need certain things like that. You got a library, okay. They keep the doors locked at the library. You got to go through a metal detector to get into the library. I think that's a little egregious and crazy to me, because I grew up getting on the bookmobile. So I know what it's like to get a book from the library or the bookmobile. I had library cards growing up. So just,
I hate to interrupt you, but I just want to say the first time I went to the Sheridan Library, I was like, what the hell?
it's the hangout though. They hang out front
Yeah,
though.
but why does it have an air of inaccessibility?
I mean, because that's basically what it is. They pick and choose who they gonna let in there. So it's just certain things that we can use. Just know one certain things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we need way more businesses. Like for my program, I go off grants and I go off donations. I don't really have to. I got 229 kids in my program. So I'm going to a guy with a detail shop that might donate $250. Appreciate everything. Where you got places, say on the south side, they can go to Birmingham Foundation and get 20,000. Where I can only get 250 for this, and you know what I mean, 300. It's hard though. We have no businesses on the West End. None. I mean, like, they need to like start pushing some businesses into the West End. People looking for to start. I don't care if it's a detail. I mean, I shouldn't say we already got detail. I wouldn't care if it was like we don't have like a Midas or anything like that. You gotta get your car fixed. You gotta go to the old school place to get your car fixed. You can go to Crafton and find it, or Green Tree and find it, but you don't got it in the West End, and that's where we're lacking at. They're not pushing the big businesses over there, and that's part of big businesses grow neighborhoods. And it don't have to be the biggest business, but big businesses grow neighborhoods. You know what I mean? And we don't have it.
So what he's saying is that we need the financial support, which is actually true. So there are families that are doing really well in the West End, and don't quote me, but I think the statistics, the median household income is less than 50,000 in the West End. And for the national median, I think is closer to 80,000. So we're well below the median income. We're not self-sufficient as a community. So what Marty is saying is that we need those big businesses to come in to help us to get that structure there, right? We also, I was at Greenwood Week recently, and I was listening to Dollar Bank. I was listening to the different organizations talking about community development. We need those resources here. So Muffy, when you asked that question about what we need, I think we all paused, because I think in our spirits, we all were like, youth center, like we need a youth center, period. But it's not, right? We need a youth center, comma, we need employment, comma, we need facilities, comma, we need banks and grocery stores and centers. And like, it's so hard to say we need one thing. Mike is in the school. Langley is near and dear to my heart. We need resources for the school. I don't want to put Langley out there and be like it's a failing school, but I'm gonna say they need some help. They have people like him. They have people like Miss Johns, who she is an absolute rock star. And they have a new principal that came in, and I was able to hear her speak, and she has some really great strategic planning going on and people to help her. But they need help. Like the community, we all had to pause, and I felt it. Forgive me for speaking for you gentlemen, but I feel like together, knowing us all well enough, we paused, because if we had that money, Muffy, I don't know where we would say is the one place that it needs to go to, because we have so much need. That's like you have 9 kids and somebody gives you a loaf of bread and says, who do you feed? I don't know.
You know, one thing I forgot, Keisha, is that we don't have a bank anymore in the West End, and we used to have a bank and a credit union right there on Charlotte Avenue. I used to deal with both the bank and the credit union years ago. We don't have none of that. I don't live in the West End anymore. I've been gone for years, but I'm still, my mother's there, my sister's there, you know what I mean? And I'm still deeply enriched in the community. I forgot we didn't have a bank. There's no banks over there. You know what I'm saying? There's
The
no
post
credit
office
union.
is gone.
Yeah, and the post office is gone as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know,
That's crazy.
I'm sitting there thinking, like, you know, and like kind of what Keisha said, like we quick to say recreational center, but more like, you know, that's what in my vision of Langley for right now. It's a big building. There's a lot of empty spaces in this building. Though they're on the third floors and second floors, and with the possibility of you know, it going from a K to 8 to a K to 5, it should give more room for things. And all I keep visualizing, like, you know, is GED classes, things that, you know, this building to me is a central location for a lot of. When you're a community school, you're more of a community hub too as well. And we focus a lot on the youth, but then sometimes we also forget about the adults who may not have that same opportunity as everybody else, or just may need that extra oomph in some way, form, or fashion. And, you know, if it's just financial classes, just avail. I mean, don't be wrong. I know every adult doesn't want to do these things. A lot of times there are things that are offered to adults that they just look at it like maybe next time, or, you know, life be life. And so they not have time. But I just think that to present more opportunities for just to be better, learn better, just housing, just affordable housing. A lot of things that happen in other places, people from the West Side have to go to it. And a lot of times, you know, it's not easy catching 2 buses to places. It's not easy if you don't have money for parking. It's just, you don't have daycare for kids and things like that. So it's like a lot of times I'm like, how can we bring this stuff over here? If that makes sense.
I think I want to give Alyssa a chance to just, I don't know, girl, you could take us out or something. But to me, when I'm listening to all 3 of y'all, I think the term is investment. What the West needs is investment on a broad scale, but investment, because it just feels like there's been no investment. Like the investment has just not occurred on any level.
Muffy, if I could say this and then I'll stop for real, right? So the West End does stand at a crossroad, and it has many inherent strengths, right? So the history that Marty mentioned, the proximity to the city center that Mike was talking about, a caring resident base that I was speaking on earlier. We have all of that, but we are challenged by economic and structural barriers. So by focusing on boosting the economic stability, which is what I think we're all saying, and improving connectivity and infrastructure, if we invest in the community with, you know, anchored services and spaces, then there's real potential for us to have a real neighborhood that we can uplift.
Hi, y'all. So sorry I joined late. I'm kind of pretty sad because I used to be a Crafton resident, and for the really longest time, I was screaming from the rooftops, everybody needs to move to the West End. It's better. The connectivity to the north side, the connectivity to downtown, and the connectivity to the airport. I am a West End advocate. I also used to do programming out of Langley. So I am a huge West End advocate. So I'm sad I missed this episode, but it's really nice to meet all of y'all. And that was the one thing I was going to end on, Keisha, is if you could preserve some culture from the West End, what is the culture you preserve, right? You have waterfront communities who want to preserve that. You have the East End that wants to preserve its rich cultural business district. You know, you have Manchester that even wants to preserve the fact that they are pretty much their own neighborhood and that they're not a part of the North Side, right? They want to protect their identity. What are the cultural things that you want to protect in the West End once that investment does come? I heard you have the loyal families, you know, you have those things. So that when it comes, it's not uprooted and it's not gentrified and it doesn't look different. What does the West End want to preserve as we learn to invest in it?
Y'all don't want to keep nothing? They said There ain't much to
There
keep.
ain't much to keep.
We're ready for the new issue.
Tear it all down and start back over.
I hear you.
All
Listen,
right. Look,
that is an answer.
You know, they say you have nothing good to say, don't say anything at all, right? So I'm kind of curbing my tongue and curbing my enthusiasm for the pessimism, because the West End could use a real overhaul. I don't
wow.
know what the identity is that I would want to preserve, and culture is a big thing to me. I am a first generation American. My family is from Jamaica. Culture is everything. I name my business Culture because it means a lot to me, and the
Not
identity.
Jamaica.
Sorry. Don't get me started. Gunshot in. Okay, so I believe in culture, right? And so when I look at the West End and I look at the residents, I mean, it's so much there, but there's so much it when I hear about the history, and a lot of people school me on the West End, where it was, where Sheridan started. Like Marty said, it was a white community, then it became a black community, but it was rooted in fear, it was rooted in racism, it's rooted in all those things, and it's kind of been built on that. So when he said tear it down, my heart was like, yeah, tear it down and build up something new, right? But that's only me speaking. That's not, I wouldn't speak for the people on that answer, because I'm not from here. So I wouldn't be the one to say what can we preserve. From the outside looking in, I would say maybe we need to bring in a lot more people to answer that question, because we have something here, but it seems to be more the heart than something tangible that we could actually say that's what needs to stand.
I feel that in my spirit. Thank you.
And can it also be that it's not about what we need to keep as much as it is who we need to keep. We need to keep Marty, we need to keep Mike, we need to keep Keisha, we need to keep Tracy, we need to keep the people who've made the region be able to survive until this point. But then what's next is something brand new.
Yeah.
We need somebody downtown that gives a damn.
Mm.
We need somebody downtown that gives a damn. And like I said, I don't bite my tongue. I'm dead ass about that though. But we need somebody downtown that cares. For real. Because I'll repeat this. When I asked you earlier, when you were telling me about how the topic was going to be, I was wondering like I was going to go. But when you get to ask me about what I see on a regular, and when I see this black, and we can go on for another hour.
Right.
For real, because I mean, it's a whole lot that's in my mind and in my heart that's being missed, over there. It's just, and like I said, like I don't try to claim to be I tell them all the time, I'm not no politician.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not into the rhetoric of this, that, and the other. I don't talk that language. I come from a whole different walk of life. You know what I mean? Like my history is different than a lot of people that do the work that I do, though, Muffy. Honestly, like you have to know. You know what I mean? Like my background is totally different. So what I give out of sincerity and being genuine. I don't do it for the pat on the back, how many pictures I'm gonna get with a baby, and I'm not that politician kissing babies and stuff. So when I see this and I talk about it, it comes with a passion.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some of the things that I see. Like I didn't meet Keisha until she bring her son down to football. I met her husband first, I believe. Then over the years, I seen Keisha's everything she's done with culture. They've grown and grown and grown. I love what they do. She called me, whatever. If I call hers, whatever. We have to sing. When Mike calls and we're something going on in Langley for community school, we're there. Same places. So you got the right type of people in place, but we need more. We need more people in place, though. We need the people who can cash us out and get us there. I was fortunate this year. I was able to get the Stop the Violence grant money. You know what I mean? To pour into my community, pour into my program. But at first, they didn't want to give it. They was an argument because they felt like my grant wasn't strong enough. It's a Rubik's scale. But I had explained to them 2 years in a row. No, 2 years ago, I paid a grant writer $3,000 to do my grant, and I wouldn't even consider. So I don't have $3,000 to take out of my program every year and not get considered. So me and my financial person, we did it. We sat down and wrote it up. But I had to tell them we're not going to do things off of we shouldn't do things off of Rubik's scale. We should do things how people got their boots on the ground and they moving in the community. It's the body of work you put into the community. I feel like Keisha's program, they do a lot of work in the community with these kids, after school programs. So I see it. So again, it's just, if we can get our parents and our adults in the community to buy into what we got going on, and more pressure from them to make them we put more pressure on them so they can put pressure on the people downtown. That brings it all the way back around to what we're talking about right now, how we can get these businesses back in. Because I feel like Citizens, PNC, all of them should want to have a bank in the community.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like John Eagle Shop and Say they should want to have a grocery store in the community. You know what I'm saying? I don't think a person without a car should have to catch an Uber or a bus or anything. They go to McKees Rocks and Crafton to go food shopping.
Right.
Stuff like that. I don't think a kid in our community should have to go to McKees Rocks to a Boys and Girls Club to have some fun or let off steam, play basketball and stuff. I feel like all these opportunities should be available in our community.
Yeah, those opportunities breed civic pride, right? You don't want to let a kid leaving here and being like, I'd rather go to McKees Rocks because that's where all my friends are at. You want to breed civic pride.
Absolutely.
But my question for you, Marty, is what does pressure look like? If the mom is worried about the 2 buses she got to get to work in the supermarket, if she's worried about, what does pressure look like, honestly?
I want the moms who worried about getting them an outfit to go to the club Friday and Saturday night to buy into what we talking about. I want them to understand like it's bigger than that. So if we can't open up none of these parents and moms and dads' eyes and see that we don't have what a lot of other communities have, because West End is District 2. District 2 is Mount Washington and all that. They got stuff in Mount Washington.
Right.
They got what they need in Mount Washington. You go through Mount Washington, it's about 5 banks, grocery store, everything. They got it there. What's wrong with down the street though? You know what I mean? Like, and we're bigger. So it's just we got to get, I don't know how you can make parents buy into what we're selling. And it's a big deal with me, with my program. I'm talking about and Mike, I see it of Langley, the lack of support and parent participation is the thing. Now, how do we educate them on that?
Well, traditionally, what I can tell you as the founder of Brown Mamas is traditionally there has not been parental investment. So you're talking about women and men, who foundations, corporations, everybody wants to invest in kids. People want to invest in kids. Nobody, for the longest, kids have been siloed from their parents. Yep. So it's like, we're going to invest in the kids. We're going to put the kids in STEM programs. We're going to buy into after school programs. We're going to buy into all this, not recognizing that the mom is at home and the dad is at home and may be uneducated, may not have, maybe underemployed or not employed, maybe underinsured or not insured, maybe health issues and not having the community of support. So that's what Brown Mamas does, is we focus on being the community of support for Black moms. I can overtly admit that the West End has not been a focus of mine because, to be honest, it is not easy to get support to support the moms in the West End. It is much easier to get support moms in the Hill District, in Homewood, in the North Side. But when you put West End on an application, it does not sway one way or another. It does not help. It may not hurt, but it does absolutely not help. And so I think I agree with y'all 100%. We need to make the West End a place where people want to invest in, because it's like, it's hard to get investment to work in the West End. I've been friends with Keisha for a long time, and I've watched her struggle trying to get investment to work in the West End. And I think I agree with y'all 100%. Until you get those parents and those adults to buy in, to actually go downtown, as we say, and fight the powers that be, it is going to be an uphill battle. And there will only be an investment, like he said, when the plan has come to fruition and when folks have made a decision. Right. So we don't have that much time left. So I want us to wrap it up, B. But I do want to give y'all a chance to say some final words, because number one, I want to tell folks, come to the public workshop on November 1st, because the public workshop is going to be hosted in the West End for this exact reason, because we're not hearing from people in the West End, because we need to hear from people in the West End, and because it's important. It's a part of the city. We can't spout these 90 neighborhoods and then leave folks out,
Right.
regardless of whether they've come to the table with ease or if it takes more work.
Mhm.
And I think it's time for people to accept that, yes, it's going to take more work to invest in the West End, but it is what we need to do. So just last words from everybody, and then we're going to deuces. And I am absolutely going to keep in touch. I've been talking to Mike about getting people involved beyond this. And now that we've had this conversation, I have some places I would like to invite y'all to. So I'm going to keep talking to y'all.
You said final words, Muffy? Is
Yeah,
that
just
what you-
any last words y'all want to say.
I appreciate this opportunity for dialogue. There are a lot of people here that weren't mentioned on the call today. There are churches, there are people, Terry Minor Spencer, we always got to speak her name in the room because she does so much work here in the West End. Kia Ingram, just all of us, the pastors of these churches, that's not easy. There are a lot of us who are doing this work. I think at this point, we need to stop each being a finger, and we need to each come together as a hand, and we need to make a fist. And that fist may not be to fight, but it may be to just hold it up in solidarity, hold each other up, make two hands. Let there be 10 fingers that come together and make two hands and hold each other up and build this community. That's where we are right now. We all, like Marty said, he can call on me, I can call on him. I go up there, Mike is like, come up, Hope, Culture, we up there, we're all working together. We can all rub shoulders. We don't have beef or issues, but I think that we need to be more intentional. I have seen communities, again, I'm from Miami, Florida. I saw it go from the Black Hood to another demographic palace, right? And that didn't happen overnight because of nothing. It happened because the people came together. They didn't just see each other and dap each other up and hug each other and move on. They came together and said, we're all going to work together and we're going to build something. We're going to create a coalition, which means we're going to bring in the police, the schools, the nonprofits, the churches, the parents. We're going to all come together. We're going to have a strategic plan and we're going to follow that. We're not going to make one person or one office or one thing the thing that stops us. Once we all come together, 10 fingers, 2 hands, and uplift, nobody can stop us. That's what we need to do right now. So I look forward to seeing you on November 1st.
She said, "Hey, I can't do nothing." That was dope. Yo, Marty, you got something to say? Hey,
Nah, Keisha here was this though. Boy, that was that Black Power right there.
man, I'm like, I had put my hood on. Let's get it done.
Right.
No, I look at it like I appreciate you letting me on you all's podcast today.
It's
I
not
hope,
ours, it's the city. So
okay, well,
like
you know what I'm saying? So
oh,
I hope this is seen and everybody and the people who view this get a better understanding and the word gets out to the proper people where we can start investing some time, manpower and money into the West End community. That's just, I'm hoping for the best for the West End community.
the best for the West. That's
Best for the West. I must say bars, Marty.
All right. Well, that's that. Thank y'all for tuning in to the Planning with Purpose podcast with me and my sister Alyssa. Appreciate you, Alyssa. Thank you for being on. I know you couldn't be here the whole time, but we appreciate all of your presence. A little bit, lots, all of it. Thank all three of y'all for coming, because I know this was late notice, and I know that y'all are actually the boots on the ground in the community. So just the fact that y'all took out some time to take this whole hour and talk to us is highly appreciated. Y'all know we be here every Tuesday at 12 o'clock, Planning with a Purpose podcast, where we're trying to break down all the stuff in the comprehensive plan so that people will be able to contribute their voices, their ideas, their stories. Next workshops, is that tomorrow? Tomorrow on the 22nd, Thursday on the 23rd, the 29th, and on November 1st is our last one. Well, I don't know if it's the last one, but it's the final one for now in the West End. We need y'all to come through. I don't know how to say that lady's name, that center is named after, Nairi something. I know it's the Nairi something. Somebody wants
Center.
Definitely Nyree Center.
Thank you. You said it. And yeah, invest in the West End. We want the best for the West. So have a great day, y'all. Peace.
Thank you.